Are accounting salaries keeping up with the times? This is the IssuesWatch podcast. Hi, I'm Don Meyer, Chief Marketing Officer at the New Jersey Society of CPAs, and welcome to the IssuesWatch podcast. With the number of freshly minted accounting graduates dwindling and the consumer price index still rising, the law of supply and demand is driving up the salaries of accountants and finance professionals, according to the recently released Robert Half 2024 Salary Guide. Companies are not only increasing compensation, they're loosening work from home policies and utilizing more contract workers in order to prevent a critical shortage of talent from spilling over into their financial reporting operations. Here with me to discuss takeaways from the Salary Guide is Rich Singer, Director of Permanent Placement Services at Robert Half International. Welcome, Rich.
Thanks, Don. Glad to be here.
So let's start broadly. What is the outlook for accounting salaries?
Well, accounting salaries have been rising. The reason is companies continue to face an accounting shortage, causing financial reporting issues for managers unable to find talent with the necessary expertise, which also leads to increased workload and it causes employee burnout. Also, there's about 10% fewer college grads coming out of accounting. I think the number is 9%. And it's created such a void and such a decrease in the profession and more demand. Public and corporate accounting employers are trying out multiple strategies for attracting, landing, and retaining talent, including offering generous salaries as well as attractive perks and benefits. And we've even seen many more companies offering signing bonuses.
Okay, so good news for accounting graduates and accounting and finance professionals in terms of salaries. Maybe not such great news for the employers who are looking to hire these folks. Are there significant differences between the salary trends that we see in public accounting versus corporate accounting?
Yes, good point. Public accounting salaries are generally higher than corporate accounting salaries, but both fields have been very well compensated. The hiring outlook for both public and private accounting is strong. There's more competition for public firms to retain their employees because they're being pulled out by corporations offering many perks, including flexible hours and more time off and work from home options and other factors.
So the public accounting firms are trying to entice people to stay or entice new people through higher salaries, since they maybe can't match some of the other perks that larger corporations can offer?
They're offering higher salaries, but they are increasingly offering flexible time off or flexible work from home options or hybrid options. We even have several large firms and regional firms that are offering fully remote work. Wow. And they're hiring people throughout the country to tax and sometimes audit, but more in tax on remote opportunities. So they are coming aboard. They have to.
Right. And we've been visiting, we have our new CEO, AJ Johnson. We've been visiting a lot of accounting firms, and I can attest to the idea that firms are offering remote options, because a lot of these firms we visit, I wouldn't say they're empty, but the offices are, half full. They're not as full as they would have been, say, 5 years ago. So I think those options certainly are on the table for anyone interested in working in public accounting.
Right. We've gone full circle. When I was in public, and we're talking years ago, I'm dating myself, but there was no such option to work from home and to work remotely. We didn't have computers. And it was 3-4 nights in the office during tax season and Saturdays as well. But today, they have to be more flexible in firms. That's the only way they can retain many of their employees, because on the other side of the coin, corporations are offering tremendous perks in this area and a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, I read an article yesterday that said that CEOs want to try and bring all their employees back to the office 5 days a week by, I think the date was 2026. So I remember reading that. I kind of, like you just chuckled. I kind of chuckled too. I was like, well, good luck with that.
Yeah, right. We've seen a trend. Like, listen, COVID didn't do us a lot of favors in the workforce and as an employers. It's changed dramatically. The computer and Teams and Zoom and videos have changed the workplace environment dramatically. We've seen during COVID, there was many companies working remotely. We've seen a trend of companies bringing people back to the office, but not on a full-time basis, not on 5 days a week. Listen, there are certain industries that are essential businesses that want people in the offices 5 days a week: manufacturing, food service, healthcare, and several others. But I'd say a majority of companies are allowing some type of hybrid work, whether it's 1 day a week from home, 2 days a week from home, 3 days a week from home. But the remote jobs have diminished. They're still there. Don't get me wrong, because especially in public accounting, they have to be flexible. And if they need a tax accountant or an audit professional with a certain skill set and they can't find them or retain them, they're forced to allow remote.
Yeah, I think a year ago, we saw in a lot of job descriptions, the word remote was thrown around a lot. I think now we're seeing words like you were just using them: flexible, hybrid, suggesting that, hey, we're willing to work with you, but you got to be in the office some days of the week.
Right. And I've done this for 36 years and 10 in accounting, and I was even a VP of HR for 2 years. And I really think it's important that there is some face time in an office. So much more. There's camaraderie there. You learn, you listen to people around you, and it's just an easier environment. And to get to know people, really get to know your coworkers. I'm a firm believer in at least a couple days a week or 1 day a week in the office.
Well, what's interesting is, again, in some of these meetings we've had with managing partners, what they're I think the common belief is that it's the younger or the newer employees that are insisting on remote work or hybrid work. But what these MPs have told us is that it's actually the younger employees who want to come back to the office, because exactly what you just said, for the socialization, for the camaraderie, for being able to kind of learn on the job in the office. And it's actually employees who have families, they have more obligations, things like that. Those are the folks who are more interested in remote work and hybrid work. So it's kind of an interesting discussion, but
right.
I think
should, as an entry level or a staff level accountant, tax, audit person, you should want to go in, have that face time, have the camaraderie. You'll pick up more, you'll learn more. I'm bored sitting at home 3 days a week. I work 2-3 days a week from home, and my people love going into the office because we have such a banter back and forth, and we learn from each other. And it's good when we're on the video, but it's not the same.
Right. Yeah, I could say my laundry is always done, because when I work from home, like, that tends to be what I do in addition to work. But yeah, I'm with you. I am much better off working in the office than at home. But let's get back to the salary guide for a moment. So this is kind of an age for a lot of public accounting firms, and even probably in corporate, it's kind of an age of specialization that, there aren't a lot of generalists anymore. Are there certain positions or certain types of positions that are in higher demand and therefore receiving bigger increases?
Yeah, I would say generally yes. Tax professionals, audit professionals. If there's travel, stipends, additional benefits to traveling and getting additional maybe travel pay or different perks to keep them interested and excited and not burning out, and giving them side trips or bonuses. There's definitely versus sitting in a corporate office or working from home. There's definitely certain areas especially I would say audit and tax and public, that are definitely offering a lot more perks.
Okay. I think there's a lot of our members who work in tax and audit would be very, very happy to hear that. All right, so let's talk New Jersey. How does salaries in New Jersey compare to the rest of the country?
Basically, salaries in New Jersey are about 15 to 28% higher than the national average for most roles. It's a demographic study as well that we do, where Mount Laurel is 15% above the national average, Paramus is 28% above the national average, and Woodbridge is 25% above the national average. So they're definitely, depending on where you live, and if you're south of the Raritan River, companies can offer a little bit less than companies up in North Jersey, because the cost of living.
Right. And, Benjamin Franklin, New Jersey is kind of in a unique situation, crammed in between New York and Pennsylvania. And Benjamin Franklin, I think he said New Jersey was a keg that's tapped at both ends. And
Right.
so much of what happens in New Jersey depends on what happens in New York City and Philadelphia. And do we see the same thing with salaries? Like, are salaries in southern New Jersey and northern New Jersey really kind of dictated by what people are making in New York City and Philadelphia?
Absolutely. Earning potential in New Jersey is certainly in line with Philly and other major metro areas like New York. But Philadelphia salaries are coming in about 18% higher than the national average. So it's lower than Woodbridge. It's much lower than New York. And New York is coming in averaging about 38% above the national average. Just the cost of getting into the city, the cost of living, and all various other factors. But Philadelphia and South Jersey has always been less than Central, North, and New York.
Got it. Okay. And you touched on some things I want to bring up in the next question. So the report said that workers want raises. No surprise there. And I thought it was interesting in the press release it said, and they won't hesitate to ask for them, which sounded somewhat ominous. But what are some of the concerns that are driving those requests by workers? What are they worried about that's compelling them to ask for a raise?
Well, that it's exactly right. Robert Half, our research shows that 63% of the workers plan to ask for a raise by year end. When we ask them for their top reasons as to why, of course, inflation's number one.
Right.
Taking on more responsibilities comes in number two, and feeling underpaid and checking salary and market rates is number three. They're definitely, the inflation is the big one, and it's a double-edged sword because a lot of companies feel, even though inflation has gone through the roof, they can't offer an inflation-based raise plus a performance-based raise on top of that. It would come in 10, 15%. So they're doing the best they can.
Right. And I think as we were coming towards sort of the tail end of the pandemic, a number of firms we spoke to were talking about trying to, because that second point you made about they're looking for increases in salary because of increases in workload. And I think what firms are trying to do is maybe sort of scale back a little bit on the workload by getting rid of unprofitable clients. And so like maybe taking away, inflation is not something a firm or a company can control, but I think the workload part is something that they could definitely try and scale back on, so somebody doesn't feel underpaid because they're working 60 hours a week and getting the same salary.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Listen, it's demanding, but no pain, no gain, and there's so much opportunity to make money and to eventually, if you want to stay in public accounting, be a partner. The aging of the profession, so many of the partners and high-level accounting professionals are aging, and there's not enough to backfill them as they retire. So I've seen more opportunities for people to be partner within mid-size, small, mid-size, large CPA firms than I ever did in my 35 years.
Right. And probably be an opportunity to be partner earlier. Right.
There's a dramatic need, and the profession's not going away. There's only an increased demand for it. It's just a harder endeavor, harder major, and a harder, a little bit harder career path versus coming out with finance or a business degree.
Right. But the rewards are there. I mean, and I think
absolutely.
Now, speaking of, we were talking earlier about flexible work options. One of the interesting things that was in the report was that workers are willing to forego higher paying jobs for positions with flexible work options. Is work-life balance kind of trumping some of those financial concerns that people have?
Yeah, we did the survey, and in the survey, it says that 62% of the workers would rather stay in a job with flexibility than face rigid in-office requirements. And especially, when they're commuting into New York or Philly, which is a big endeavor. It's sometimes 2 hours each way from even central Jersey by the time you leave your house, by the time you get to your desk. So they're almost demanding it. And if it says 5 days a week in the office, many are shunning even going for the interview. For employers, offering flexible work options will go a long way to help you recruit and retain your top talent.
Right. And as you said, you're seeing more and more of that being offered by public accounting firms, by companies. So it seems like the profession is moving in the right direction in terms of salaries and flexible work options. Like it's moving in the right direction and trying to bring in that next generation of talent.
Oh, absolutely. And they've been basically, they had to move with the change with the times. If they didn't, instead of a 9% fewer college students going into accounting, it'd be a lot greater than that. So it's again, they had to be, companies and firms have to be flexible. And if you're not, you're going to miss out on a lot of the top talent because they're demanding it.
Right, exactly. So I actually had the opportunity to play around with the guide and your report. It's very interactive. I would encourage other people to kind of play around with it and take a look at. You can look at different regions, different types of positions. It's actually pretty interesting. How can our listeners and viewers access the salary guide?
The easiest way is just to go to roberthalf.com and click on 2024 salary survey.
All right, terrific. So, Rich, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We'll have to have you back next year to see if there's any changes in the trends.
Absolutely, I enjoyed it. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks for listening and watching. To access the Robert Half Salary Guide, visit roberthalf.com. And for more guidance on hiring, salaries, and employee management, visit njcpa.org/hub/employees.